Okay, so my name is Khan Min Yen. I just go by Min, like the minimum function. I'm undergraduate office assistant dean, and I'm in charge of the enhancements portfolio. So this event, the SoCUR undergraduate awareness research event, is helmed jointly by undergraduate office in student life and corporate relations. Okay. So, a lot of people don't know what it means to do research. Maybe you've done a little bit in your JC or Poly, and maybe you haven't, and you're curious to think about what research might be like. And some of you may be thinking, okay, well, I'm not very clear about what to do after graduation, and I was like that when I was young. It was sort of a default pathway for me to say, okay, well, I finished higher studies in undergraduate. What next? Maybe I'll do graduate school. So it was sort of an afterthought for me, but we don't want it to be an afterthought. We want it to be a conscious choice for everyone. So again, with all of the graduate students outside, as well as some of the professors who are making talks today, we encourage you to interact with us to find out what it really means to be in research. So the objective of any research program is basically for us to expose undergraduates to what research is like, what's the active experience in doing research, and research can span a 4-year career, like say what our PhD students do, but in undergraduate you have to do it with many other modules, so we can only give you a trial. The important thing here is we give you a whole life cycle of what research is like. Typically, it starts with, let's say, something like problem formulation, so deciding what the problem is, coming up with it in a formal fashion. In certain cases, even coming up with the problem is a really hard endeavor, okay, and can be like 20 to 30% of the problem is just to come up with the formalization of the problem itself. Then there's usually some type of literature review. We study how other scholars have approached the same problem or similar problems, and then again, enhancing our understanding of the problem through research seminars that are all through SoC. So SoC, you may know from the rankings, we're ranked fairly well, but many undergraduates don't realize that we actually do cutting edge research here. So being able to be at the university and have inputs from so many different really rich research centers is very crucial. And after going and understanding the problem, we have to implement a solution. So we propose a solution to the problem, we implement it, we test it, we try to evaluate it against other possible solutions that have been proposed by others. And very, very importantly, the last one I won't underemphasize at all, we need to publicize and document our results. Okay, this is critical for any type of research because, again, you're going to be evaluated on this research. You have to present it to examiners. So however well you can communicate this to others is going to partially determine the success of your research. We don't live in ivory towers where we get to make discoveries. We have to communicate that and make it a foundational block for others in the future. Okay, so this is just a typical roadmap, and again, I hope you will engage all of us, including myself, outside about how things go. So in year 1 at the bottom, in year 2, you're doing foundational courses. And if you're not quite sure whether research is right for you, maybe you'll try other things. For example, Orbital is another program that we have during summer that's very important for helping you see what is your meaning, what's your passion in computing, okay? Then after that, after doing the foundations, typically people in their year 3, at the end of year 2, will think about doing undergraduate research. Then they might enroll in Europe. And Europe starts in April at the end of year 2, going all the way until the end of year 3 in April of year 3. So that's basically, for many students, they follow this pipeline and do Europe in year 3. Now, there's lots of ways that you can permute this. Many of you may be thinking about, what about ATAP, what about SIP, what about NOC? Those all work in this framework too. So you can choose to permute this. Maybe you would do your ATAP or NOC in year 3 and then move Europe to year 2, that's fine. Okay, and then after that, typically after doing 1 year of Europe, you might decide, okay, well, I want to go further in depth in that area, or I want to switch areas. Maybe I'll continue with a final year project. So that's FYP in year 4. Okay, of course, you don't have to be exposed to do Europe to do research. You can do FYP as your first and only experience in doing undergraduate research. That's fine too. Okay, there are lots of other ways to think about research, including R modules, which are 1-credit advanced versions of a course that you've taken, doing an independent project with a particular supervisor, doing the computer science research methodologies for those of you in the computer science program, as well as coming into our Turing program for those of you who were asked to join that program in year 2. Okay. So the first pathway that we see most students thinking about research would be Europe. So this is a 8 MC module that's split into 2 halves, 1 semester each. Okay, most Europes are for 2 semesters, like I've said here, but actually you can take it for 1 semester over special term. We try to cater for the way that you're trying to engineer your career at SOC. So we completely understand if you want to take leave or you want to go for ATAP or other things, we'll try to make that happen for you. Okay, so that's a little bit about this. Okay, and it's also good to do this concurrently with CS research methodologies, because CS research methodology will greatly enhance the productivity of your Europe, because you'll know much more about which steps to take and how research might be codified for you. We also have FYP. FYP is compulsory for computer engineering students. So those of you in computer engineering, you'll have to take it anyways. But FYP is not just restricted to research projects. Okay, there are other engineering projects too. But it is the case that most of our professors, since many of us are research oriented, will be proposing projects that have a research component that may result, if you do very well, in publishable units that you can use to boost your CV and resume when you want to apply for graduate school. Okay, we also have professors that like to specify open-ended projects. So if you have your own idea of what types of research are interesting to you, then you can propose that. Okay, how do I get started with research? What makes something interesting? Well, you have to find out on your own. You can do it through your modules, but importantly of all, you have to talk with us, your professors, right? Because research is something that is handed down through something like an apprenticeship program, okay, where individual professors will talk with you and try to help you make sense of what it means to do research in their field. And it's quite individualized. I'd say, you know, we have many different professors, they have different temperaments, they have different advising styles. So it's very key that you talk to multiple professors, you know, 5 or even 3, so that you get an understanding of whether that particular field, that particular professor is a good fit for you. Okay. Now, there are lots of ways to find projects. You can propose your own, but one complete source would be the FYP listings. Even for folks thinking of Europe or independent projects, I would advise you to go to our project administration system and look at the listings there, and also browse the web. You know, we have a lot of our computing faculty have homepages, and they will list their publications and research interests there. Okay. There are some differences between Europe and FYP. I'm not going to go into much details here. I'll just highlight one part, which is that Europe is a full year project. Even though it's only 8 MCs, we expect Europe students to spend at most of their summer time actually doing Europe. Okay, this makes a big difference on your outcomes. So I just wanted to impress you on that fact. Okay, and actually that is pretty much the end of my talk. We wanted to save enough time for you to talk with others outside, with the PhD students, with any of the faculty that are here today, and with the other people that are giving talks. Okay, that's the most important. So there are some questions that I think the Comp Club have come up with from all of your inputs, but also some that I expect to hear from you, like how do you get good references, what's required to get into a graduate school in the US, these types of things. You can come and ask any one of us. We'll be happy to elaborate. Okay, so with that, I'm going to hand it over to our first presenter, who will give a technical talk on the subject. So let's see, who is that? Shen? Or do you need to find it?
Yeah.
This is here. Here's the HCI one.
HCI, yeah.
How come that didn't open? Okay, there we go. Is this right?
Yeah.
Hi everyone, it's my honor to present first. I'm Zhang Shan, the second year PG student from NUS HCI Lab. What does HCI mean? So HCI stands for Human-Computer Interaction. We are trying to build a bridge between human and computer.